Welcome to another episode of Wild Wild Bets. I'm your host, Furious George, and with me, as always, is Shane at Michigan Hats on Twitter. I'm at Furious George 94, and we're here for another episode of I don't know. It's a betiful day. How about that?
Oh, sorry. That's
Is
where
that
that's
all you
my.
got for me?
This has been another. Yes, it is. I was a little slow on the pickup for that, but good to be back. It's been a couple weeks. I don't think we missed a week there, so kind of in a little bit of a slow spot with sports. As people who aren't as big of fans of the NBA, we have NHL too, but I don't know. The weather still kind of sucks. Football is over. We're not quite close enough to baseball to really feel it in the air. So I don't know. Things are good, but could be better.
I will say I am so starved for baseball that
Yeah.
I've been consuming way more spring training than I think I normally do. Like
I
normally I just kind of loosely follow spring training stories, but this year I've actually been like watching games and listening to games on the radio when I'm able to. And it feels like I'm like at baseball season almost. So, but
yeah.
that's what's getting me through. The Blackhawks, Red Wings, Chris Chelios, Patrick Kane game was awesome.
It was.
But there's no other Blackhawks game this year really is even really worth watching with how bad the team is. Obviously, you tune in for Connor Bedard, and that's what I've been doing. Like when I am watching, it's just like laser focused on Bedard. What is he doing? But yeah, I mean, at least for you, the Red Wings, they're in a chase for a playoff spot, right?
Yeah, right now they're the second wild card. It looks pretty safe. I think they're like 7 or 8 points above most of the teams who are competing with them. Honestly, the thought is, can you catch the Leafs and be one of those top 3 teams in that division, and not be a wild card team? Then you'd be the home team in the playoffs. So I mean, the Leafs do love choking down the stretch, so it's definitely possible. But I like, if you look at betting odds, this was prior to the last game, but Red Wings were like 80% chance to make the playoffs, and I think to bet them to make the playoffs was like minus 220. So Vegas is basically saying it's close to a lock, and it definitely feels like that. So it's just a question of seeding at this point. But I just am so ready to like look at, and not even just Red Wings. Like, I've just had fun looking at NHL and betting NHL this year. So to have like the playoff picture in place and start betting on these series, it's gonna be great.
Oh yeah, betting on the series will be fun. Because betting on individual games is just it's kind of exhausting and boring because the lines are always 1.5, and like the only way lines change is if you do a bet live. Like if Edmonton goes up on Calgary 3-0, then they might move the line to 2.5. But even at that, that's like the most it'll go, right? Like,
you're looking at money line or at 1.5. You can bet. So kind of a trick you can do is like, if I think a team's gonna win, but they're like minus 170 money line, but I don't want to lay 1.5 because minus 1.5 might be like plus 140, but it's like it's hard to cover that extra goal. You can bet a team to win in regulation. So if they're minus 170 money line or whatever, probably gets you to like minus 115, 120 in regulation. Maybe not that low, but you can do that. Just be warned, obviously, when you do that, it's going to feel like a lot more games go to overtime than you remembered. But there's some things you can do like that. Over and unders are fun, because most of those are going to be at 6.5. So
5.5 some are
5.5, especially in the playoffs. I feel like they'll get lower totals. So those can be fun.
I personally, for me, with the Blackhawks being bad, and watching mainly for Bedard, I like betting either on points by a player or on goals, and just watching for that. Obviously, you don't want to pick a non-prominent scorer. I would think I would think it's more fun to like watch like the Oilers and bet on McDavid and probably just bet the over on points and bet that he scores a goal, because more than likely he's going to do both of those things, and it's more just a matter of watching for it when he's on the ice, right? Same thing with Bedard, in my opinion. That's what I'm looking for. And depending on the team, I'll bet a money line usually, and it's been a pretty safe bet against the Blackhawks, because the Blackhawks have like 15 wins on the season. So
it's just so hard, because maybe I just feel like this because I don't do player props as much, but it feels like the odds on these goal scorer props are so bad compared to what you would think they'd be. Like we bet on Kane to score in a game together recently, which was fun.
Awesome.
It was awesome because he scored like
in 30 seconds.
Game. Whatever game that was, the Wings scored
against
4
the Blues.
times in the first. Yeah, against the Blues. And you were like, let's bet Kane together, and he scores immediately, which is awesome. But you feel like the odds on a player to score a goal, it was what, plus 180 or something. I'm like, you're only getting you're not even getting 2-1 odds, and you're picking a player to score a goal, which is such a random occurrence, It's fun to do, but I just wish they'd give you a little better odds. Like you'd think maybe they give you like
pretty quickly they jump to 2-1. Like I'm pretty sure you'll have your most prolific scorers, usually the top 2, maybe up to 4 scorers that are playing that game, and they might be below 200. But once you get beyond that, you're at 200. And I guess for me, someone like Bedard or McDavid or even Patrick Kane score enough goals that if you bet on them to score a goal each game, you probably are going, at worst, you're probably going to break even on your bets, if not at least go a little bit on the winning side, I would think.
Yeah, where they'll probably get you is like he might score 2 goals one game and then not score for 3 games, so it's like you don't get double payout for that. So yeah, I don't know. I like the player points a lot, like you said. I tend to just bet less props than straights anyway, so maybe it just feels like that to me. But
you're not into straights.
Dang, set myself up for that one. No, I do. Yeah, I do a lot more over under.
You're really stumbling over yourself, aren't you? How do you recover from that?
I tend to be underneath more, or maybe sometimes on top more, but no, I normally bet like the full lines for teams. So but I do agree with what you said. It's like I'll bet the individual games because I like to have that quick satisfaction of knowing if your bet hit or not. But I think you can even bet like, will the series go to 7 games, stuff like that.
Sure.
There's a lot of fun ways to bet playoff hockey. So
definitely. How long will a playoff beard grow? That should be a prop that you can bet.
That's a good. How long?
How many cars will be set on fire in Toronto after the Leafs are eliminated in the first round of the playoffs? Under 17 and a half. Yeah.
Was that big? Was that Vancouver or was that Toronto?
That was Vancouver.
That year where they just destroyed their city after they lost.
That was. Yeah, they made it to the final. Imagine the Leafs in the final. You can't, because it never happened.
No. This is the year, though. Yeah, they're the Cowboys of hockey, but actually worse because the Cowboys won in my lifetime, at least.
It's hilarious to me that the Leafs, like, they're probably well, the Leafs are at least from my purview, they're probably the most iconic NHL team just because they're in Toronto. the maple leaf itself, it's just like it's the emblem of Canada, literally on their flag, but also it's just an iconic jersey. And I don't know, I feel like when you think hockey, one of the first teams I think of is the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're in the original six, all this stuff, right? And yet they're like the little brother to everybody in the league. It feels like it's just kind of funny. So,
have you seen Matthews' stats this year?
No, not this year. No. Why, are they good or bad?
For the Leafs,
they've got to be good, right? If they're
he has 53 goals already.
Wow.
Yeah, so he leads the NHL and he has 53 goals right now. He's on pace to get over 70, which is just absurd.
Goal
So
per
I'm trying to
game.
look at close to a goal per game. I mean, obviously you
I
look at
bet
these
he would.
crazy stats of Gretzky, but like I'm trying to remember who the last people were who did that.
Didn't McDavid? I think McDavid did. If not, there was 1 year. Hold on. Here we go. Hockey reference.
Because like Mario Lemieux did that, right? Back in the day. I'm trying to think recent players who would even Stamkos.
There was one.
I think maybe had a 60 goal season.
There was 1 year I could have sworn. I thought Patrick Kane had like 79 or 80. Like he was right there.
Jeez.
All right. How old would you guess Connor McDavid is?
I think you're thinking of next year with the Red Wings. 29.
He's 27.
No, he's not that old. Jeez. Yeah. That's crazy.
All right.
Connor
Let's see.
McJesus.
Maybe I'm just thinking of points scored. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking points. So in 2022,
because he's always been an assist heavy, pass heavy guy.
In 2022-23, McDavid had 64 goals and 89 assists.
Jeez.
So that's 153 total points.
Goals.
Yeah. Did you look up Mario Lemieux?
No.
Or you're just guessing?
I just know he had a 70 goal season though, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember when, but let me see.
I'm waiting for certain things to load here. Let's see. All right. Patrick Kane's highest goal scoring season was 46 goals.
Okay. Are you looking up like single season goal records?
I'm just on Hockey Reference. Mario Lemieux.
Holy crap.
What?
So Gretzky is the first two.
Oh boy. Oh, did you find a list?
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
Wow.
So Lemieux, I only see one season. So he had 85 goals.
Yeah, that's
88, 89.
That's fourth all time. 76 games played, 85 goals, 114 assists. What the heck?
Wait, how many games played? 76. That's stupid.
Crazy. Wow.
All right, yeah, the Gretzky page is always so much fun to go to because it's just like
basically all of Gretzky's seasons are like in the top 10 of this list.
So 92 crazy. Goals, 87 goals. So I guess he only had two above 82, but he had, let's see, the 92 goals was in 80 games.
73, 71.
Everything okay over there?
Yeah, I gotta keep going. Keep looking. I gotta do the alarm real quick.
Yeah, I mean it's not even a worthwhile exercise to look at Gretzky stats because they're just like it's not even helpful because it's like it's just his own tier.
He's just such an outlier. It's like you can't even compare people to him. Like he just needs to be separated from the conversation.
Yeah. All right, let's see. I'm looking for Jaromir Jagr. His highest looks like to be 62 goals. I'm curious about Ovechkin.
Brett Hull is on here a lot more than I thought. He has the
Really?
3rd highest, the 9th highest, and the 12th highest.
Huh.
Steve Yzerman's here. Lemieux is okay. Mario Lemieux is the 4th highest, the 13th highest, the 15th highest, the 16th highest. So yeah, McDavid 64 is 26th all time. Austin Matthews 6. So Austin Matthews' career high of 60 was the 2021-2022 season. So he's gonna pass that. David Pastrnak had a 61 goal season. What?
It's just crazy to me because, again, as good as Austin Matthews is, it just feels like he's never going to win anything in Toronto, doesn't it? Like,
I mean,
I know
like
he
McDavid,
just signed.
Kind of. I feel like he
True.
and McDavid will both never win anything.
I mean, it's interesting because he just signed a big extension. Matthews did. And the NHL doesn't seem to really have the culture of other leagues where players will like hold out for trades or publicly request trades or stuff. Yeah, but you kind of wonder with players like Matthews and McDavid, could they get to a point where they'd be like, or even Bedard, like if the Blackhawks struggle to build up the team, like could they get to a point where they're like, I'm sick of this and I want to be moved? Like Jack Eichel got moved out of Buffalo and immediately won a Stanley Cup with Vegas.
Bedard is going to look so good in a wing sweater.
You know, I mean, again, I guess I would be so frustrated if like,
yeah, that would suck.
I don't know if it would make sense, but if in like, you'd have to find a good cross section because Kane's already 34. But if it was like if for some reason the Blackhawks got rid of Bedard in like 3 years and Kane was still there and DeBrincat, and then
jeez,
they win you know who's a free agent right now too is Jonathan Taves.
True, yeah. Isn't he medically retired though? Like he's
taking a year off for that. I think. I don't think he retired. I think he was taking a year off and then going to reevaluate if he could come back or not. So, anywho, do you bet anything on the NBA? It's so hard for me to invest in the NBA because the Bulls are complete nincompoops, so I don't care.
Hey, the Pistons have like 25% of their wins this season are against the Bulls.
Against the Bulls, I know. It's hilarious.
The NBA.
The Pistons are 2-1 against the Bulls. They have a winning record against the Bulls.
And I think we have like 8 or 9 wins on the season.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. The NBA, again, it's hard because like it's easy for me to say this and you to say this because we're so frustrated with our teams. But I really do just feel like the NBA is not a great product. I know there's people out there who love it. It does really well by any ratings or whatever. So again, this is just my opinion. It's just not fun to watch. Like hockey, I could have fun watching, like a Bruins Leafs game. Like I have no desire to turn on, a Lakers game. I don't know. It's just...
by contrast, we've compared college basketball with the NBA, and like it's just in college basketball, every shot feels so much more important. Like the stakes are higher with every shot and every possession.
Made three is like a huge turning point in a game.
Yeah. And in the NBA, it doesn't really feel that crucial until the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel that crucial until the playoffs either. Like players have even come out and just said they don't care about the regular season. So it's just like, I don't know.
And I will say too, like NFL, NHL, MLB, college football, and basketball are all sports I'm more likely to just turn on and watch a random game that none of my teams are participating in than the NBA. Like, you're not going to catch me on a Tuesday night flipping on a classic showdown of like the Pelicans and the Nuggets. Like I just don't. It sounds like a horrible waste of time. Like I have a lot of TV shows I'd rather be binging than watching that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like even if you want to put the two best teams or whatever, like if you want to put like the Celtics and the Bucks or I don't even know who the top teams are this year, or if you want to show me like the top prospects, like I sent you that picture of Wembanyama and Holmgren against each other. Like it doesn't move the needle for me, at least not right now. And I think there is an element to our own teams not being in it. But
sure, to each their own.
Yeah,
but I would rather drag my balls through broken glass and dip them in Tabasco sauce than watch a regular season NBA game. That's as nicely as I can put it.
Is that for flavoring or never mind?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, professional term
you're like
is basting.
You're like, I'm gonna drag my balls through broken glass and dip them in tobacco sauce so the NBA can suck my nuts.
Yeah, there you go. Marinated. Yeah, really brings out the flavor. Yeah, I don't know. There's some the NBA too. Like I think most people are betting props in that, like because what they do a really good job with is player marketing. So it's very easy for somebody to say, well, I'm just going to bet Curry made threes, or I'm going to bet,
actually,
Jokic rebounds.
Those are my favorite NBA bets is like doing, Nikola Vucevic over under, 11 and a half rebounds. Like that is the one way the NBA can be watchable for me because then you're looking for those stats. You can, again, pay attention when those players are on. But definitely betting just straight money line or against spread doesn't really do it for me.
It's just hard too because every night there's a team that's favored by 12 and a half that loses by 20. It's just like I don't know. I don't know how you cap that. But the props are fun. One thing I've been doing lately with Jalen Duren for the Pistons, who's been really good lately. I feel like this would work really well with like Andre Drummond too. You can bet not just points and over under and rebounds over under. You can bet points plus rebounds, so it'll combine it. So like Jalen Duren, his rebounds are 11 and a half, his points are 10 and a half, as an example. But tonight his over under for points plus rebounds was 24 and a half. Or whatever that is, So like tonight I looked live. He had a slow start to the game. His over under points rebounds was 18 and a half. He ended with 24. So
nice.
Like there's some value there. Like Jokic, his number's probably crazy high, but guys like that who have two things they specialize in. So you can bet a guy like Halliburton points and assists. So
what about somebody like Westbrook who specializes in every part of the game? He's the best all-around NBA player I've ever seen. Time. Yeah.
With a guy like Westbrook, you're probably going to bet fouls and turnovers.
Bench minutes.
Yeah. So that's kind of a good way to look at that, where it's like if that way you're not having to exactly pick like this guy's gonna have a good scoring game. He's just gonna play a good game. So like Duren has had he's had I think 6 double-doubles in a row, which is getting him right to that number. And he's had a couple of games that were like 20 points, 20 rebounds. And I know Drummond did have like 20 something rebounds the other night. But that way you have a little leeway where points can help you with that too. So yeah, there's some fun stuff there. Again, I don't actually sit down and watch entire NBA games like really ever, but some of the prop bets they do really well. Like I'd rather probably bet NBA props than hockey props because those are just so much more random and
Yeah, that's fair. But what's been getting by, like I said, I've been listening and watching spring training baseball, and for what it's worth, I've been picking and choosing my spots and betting the Cubs because they're my team and I don't care. And so far, I think 3-1 in betting their games, which is pretty good because they've lost a lot of them. So, but
yeah,
I don't know. No. At this point, I think my eyes are turned towards. We talked last episode about betting golf. I'm still trying to feel out which golfers I'm liking right now.
My boy Zlatoris had a hole-in-one right after we talked about him.
He did. That's right. Wait, your boy had? Never mind.
My boy's Zlatoris. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my other than that, I'm looking forward to betting some no-run first innings once we get opening day. And
Pitcher
I'm looking
strikeouts.
forward. Yeah, strikeouts. And I'm looking forward to betting. I think I'm gonna actually bet some money on the draft this year, NFL draft, just because the Bears have 2 top 10 picks, including the number 1 overall. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped. And with that, we can talk about the NFL Combine to kind of finish off this episode. So this week was interesting just because we go into this week and the Bears really are like the talk of the NFL this offseason again, because you have the first overall pick and you have Justin Fields. It's the same conundrum as last year. Of course, the scenario is a little different. And I don't know, it's just interesting this year because to me, I noticed some people, they were like, Ryan Poles did such a good job in his press conference. He didn't tip his hand at all. And I'm watching his press conference. I'm like, oh, he basically confirmed he's trading him. Because Fields.
Trading Fields.
Because in his press conference, he said, he said, whatever we decide, I just want to do right by Justin. And it's like, if you're not trading a quarterback, you're going to say, Justin's our guy. Or we believe in Justin. But it wasn't that. It was like, whatever we decide, I want to do right by Justin. Whatever you decide, that means there's many things you're like, maybe you decide for him to start for you, but it's at best, it's starting with not very much confidence backing you. So
to me, do right by too is language you use when you talk about the place you're trading someone to. So do right by somebody means we're not going to trade you to like the worst team in football.
Jets or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's when you use that terminology, I automatically associate it with trade destinations. So I don't know. To me, that just feels like that's the move. I don't think you can draft Williams and keep Fields. Like, I just don't think you can do that to the locker room, and I don't think that's doing right by him. And I don't think it's smart either. It's like, I know the whole sit a guy and develop him or whatever, but if you're drafting a guy first overall, you just have to believe that they're able to be transcendent and be good right away. I know it didn't work for guys like Bryce Young, but like that's the hope. I don't think you can afford the draft and stash thing. I don't think works if you're taking a guy first overall.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So I did have that thought at one point of why can't you just keep Justin and Caleb and draft Caleb and whatever. But honestly, the main thing that's changed for me is that just the more and more I look into Justin's game, I just don't think he's good, like at all. Like I know people want to talk. I know a lot of Bears fans want to compare his stats to Michael Vick or compare his playing style to Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen or his trajectory to Josh Allen or whatever. But I'm just like
Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar. If you really look at it, like, are you sure? Like, I don't know.
You sure about that?
And I know that. Oh, you can't leave out the rushing stats. That's not fair. Okay, fine, but he's only going to have that kind of rushing ability for like 2 more years, and then he's going to fall off a cliff as far as that's concerned. And then you're going to need to be relying on the arm, and if the arm is only half of the production, and he can't, I guess what was glaringly obvious to me this year was just how much he cannot handle throwing in the middle of the field. He can't really handle. I don't know. He's just. I don't doubt that he's a super intelligent quarterback. It's very obvious that he is, but his processing has always been slow, and it's never really gotten better. And so for me, I'm against the idea of keeping both of them simply for the fact that I don't really. It sounds pretty harsh, but I don't really want Justin on the team because I don't think he's any good.
Yeah.
Like, and you have,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
It's a harsh reality, but I'm saying it. So
it's like you've been given your chance. It's not all his fault. Like I know the Fields that
sure.
defenders will say the situation he was in, and that's true, and that does suck. But how many failed quarterbacks can you say that for? It's a lot of
Well,
them.
the counter argument this year was C.J. Stroud. I mean,
Right.
who did the Texans have like going into this year that you're like, oh, this is a really good team? Nobody.
Right. Now people are gonna
They
say like
literally
Nico
had
Collins is a star. He wasn't until Stroud got there.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Texans literally had the same record as the Bears the year before, except that the
Mhm.
Texans had a tie, which is why the Bears ended up having the worst overall record and therefore the number one pick. Like
Mhm.
the Texans were literally as bad as the Bears last year. The Texans lost to the Bears 2 years ago. And yet they were able to turn it around and make the playoffs and win a playoff game. Like they
Mhm. Win their
hosted a
division.
playoff game and won a playoff game.
Yeah.
That's and so then for Bears fans to come back and say, well, Fields hasn't been given enough. Well, I'm pretty sure that DJ Moore by himself is more than anything that Stroud was given in
Mhm.
Houston. And
Yeah.
and Stroud did it in year 1, you know.
Right.
So,
And whether it's like, okay, how much is his fault? How much is the organization's fault? You can never separate that. Like the reality is
yeah.
just even if the organization's like, hey, we let Justin down and we failed him, it's like, what do you want them to do? Like fire themselves for it? Like they need to do what's right at this point, and that's just to move
Right.
on. It's like it sucks for Fields. Like I like him as a person. Like I think he's
Sure.
a really good leader. He's really well spoken. Seems like players love playing with him. Like you wish him the best wherever he goes next. It's probably just best for him at this point to move on too. So,
Except, and I've said this before, and I truly, truly feel this. I don't wish the best for him wherever he goes because
no, you
wherever
don't,
he
because it
goes,
affects
the
you.
Bears are going to be holding a draft pick
Yeah.
from that team. Unless that draft pick comes true this year, if you have any sort of future draft capital from that team, I don't want him to look good at all, honestly. And
Mhm.
honestly, if you want your GM to look good in drafting Caleb Williams, you don't
Yep.
want Fields to go somewhere and totally just light it up because then you're going to look like an idiot for trading him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
really, what's best for the Bears is for Fields to go to Atlanta or Pittsburgh or Oakland
And be
and
trash. Yeah.
be like even worse than he was with the Bears. Like,
Yeah.
um, and
Mhm.
I know nobody wants to hear that. And I'm not even being mean. I'm just being realistic. Like
It's spot on.
that's the attitude you should be having if you actually want the Bears to win.
Yep.
But
It's the
anywho,
Stafford fans all over again with Detroit, where it's like, oh, I just won the. And with him, it even made more sense. He's been here for so long, and he's
yeah.
like, he's been in such a bad situation. I just love him to see him finally be successful. It's like I don't understand that mindset where you're a fan of a player more than you're a fan of your team. But here we are.
And at least Stafford had been to a few playoff appearances with the Lions.
Right.
Like Fields' best season is a 7-10 season,
Mhm.
and it's just stupid. Like
Yeah.
the man has 10 wins in his career over 3 seasons. Like, come on,
At some
can we
point,
actually be serious, guys?
right,
Like,
at a point, you got to hold him accountable for results. It's like, well, wins aren't a quarterback stat. It's like at a certain point, they are. They become part of your stats at some point. So, yeah.
I
So it'll be
agree.
interesting. I think you can do some fun bets on. I mean, there's been reports. I think you sent me this. Like, there's rumors that quarterback might go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, that was the latest thing today.
You're going to see a
Because
lot of quarterbacks go or a lot of receivers go in the top 15 or so. So some fun bets you can place there. Because this year it doesn't feel like there's a ton of offensive or defensive line like sure things. So you're going to see a lot more quarterbacks and a lot more skill position players, I think, than normal at the top of the draft.
and I have not looked, but you got to watch out with the NFL news with like players pro days and different narratives because
Mm-hmm.
like Jaden Daniels has been getting like a ton of good press this week. Like everybody loves
Mhm.
him and
Yep.
whatever. So there's a shot, there's a shot that Caleb Williams' odds might have gone up a little bit, like in a good way. The odds improved because if Jaden Daniels is getting all this hype, I don't know. I mean, Caleb Williams is already like minus 1,200, so it's still probably not worth betting. But my point is like that might have gotten better. But I think where it really affects is Drake May. If you're pretty set on Drake May going number 2, but Jaden Daniels is the hot name right now, check out whatever May's odds are to go 2 overall, because that's where you should probably put your money.
Or on the other
Again,
hand,
you have to have conviction on that, but
yeah, I think it is going to be Daniels going 2. So if you think he is, you should bet him now, because I think those odds are going to get worse. Like I think as we get closer to the draft,
sure.
I think William or Jaden Daniels will continue to climb. I think Drake May will kind of stay where he's at. So I think a lot of it is trying to anticipate where the market's going to go. It's like, I already believe in my mind, I know where I think this player is going to go, but do I want to bet them now or later? I think that depends on where you think the hype's going to take it. Like if you think May is going second, you wait. If you think Williams is going second, you need to bet him right now, because I think the odds are going to shift that direction.
Another one that is interesting is, again, I actually don't know if it's interesting because I didn't look, but like Marvin Harrison Jr. has a lot of bad press this week because he's not participating in the combine and he was a no-show for his press conference, and he's just like been nowhere to be seen. And so it's like
just like the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah. People have a bunch of concerns and red flags about that. I don't know how serious those concerns are, but the point is, if you get enough of that media concern influencing things, you could have the odds improve for you on him. Because to be honest with you, chances are he's still going to end up being the first receiver off the board. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. The whole Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze debate is mainly talking about who's going to be wide receiver 2.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. I think it's just a matter of how many quarterbacks are picked ahead of him. He'll be the first non-quarterback taken, I feel like.
Do you think he'll still be top 5?
I think he is, unless 5 quarterbacks are taken, which seems unlikely. So I think he goes 5th if you have quarterbacks 1 through 4. So I think he goes either 4th or 5th. I think the first 3 are going to be quarterbacks 100%. Because even if somebody trades up to one of those 3, they're trading up to take a quarterback. So nobody's going to jump a quarterback taking team to take Harrison. So you could bet here, like player to, because you can pick like when a player is going to be taken. NFL draft, you could do number 3 overall pick. Like you basically, I'm saying if you bet him to Marvin Harrison to be taken 4th and to be taken 5th, if you bet both of those and he goes either of those spots, I think you profit. Yeah, first non-quarterback selected here, Harrison Jr. minus 650. So yeah, I think the only way you can get value is if you try to pick the exact spot he goes and maybe take a couple swings at it. Yeah. But yeah, some interesting stuff. Yeah, as we get closer, we'll have to bet more of that. I like betting too, like ranges for a player to fall into. So it's like, will this player be drafted in the top 20? Like that lets you place some bets on some of those more fringe guys.
So, and I will say this in terms of ranges, something for people to keep in mind. There's a real possibility that there will not be a single defensive player drafted in the top 10.
Yeah.
But everyone values defense, whether they like to admit it or not. I don't know if it'll come out, but if there is ever a bet of some sort for just in general a defensive player to be drafted in the top 10, I think I'm going to put money on that, because I think that, to me, it's likely that somebody in the top 10 will want Latu or whatever his name is, or Jared Verse. Yeah, somebody's going to want that guy.
That guy for Alabama. Yeah, there's a few guys who
Dallas Turner.
Yeah, there's a few of those guys who are fringe enough that all it takes is one team, and all it takes is one of those guys having like a really good combine and a couple really good interviews. Yeah.
Chop Robinson apparently had an unreal combine results.
He's one of those guys who could fall all the way to the Lions, and that's where he's kind of in that. The Lions are picking 29, so he's kind of projected like somewhere from 25 to 30. So, yeah, I'd love to see him fall to the Lions, but
the Lions, you guys should try to go get Kool-Aid McKinstry.
That's a name that's out there too. He has an injury apparently. He's gonna have
he has a small fracture.
So people are saying like, would he fall to the second round?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think his value is kind of like how the Lions traded up for Jameson Williams, where it's like somebody who has an injury problem, but you see how good he is when he's healthy.
Yeah.
So
it'll be.
I just can't wait for the year when General Booty is available to be drafted.
General Booty, yeah. If he's drafted, he's got to be drafted with a name like that. We'll get drafted. Yeah. All right, cool. Any final thoughts on? I mean,
what if he got? Dude, what if he got drafted to the military and he was Private General Booty?
Private General Booty, yeah.
Yeah, Private Booty.
I enjoy some private booty from time to time.
Same here. I concur. Any other thoughts? Yeah, I don't think so. Really, I just think that, like you said, we're kind of in a lull with sports. But we should have college tournament. It's March now. It's March 1st, so we should have college basketball tournaments coming up pretty soon. Do you know?
Are we gonna do? So I don't know. There's gonna be conference championships before that. I just thought of this too. Are we doing your draft game you created this year?
I would like to, but I haven't touched it since last year, and I know there's a lot of overhaul I need to do.
Okay.
So
I just forgot about, or just remembered that because I'm
maybe one day before we record, you can help me kind of rework some of it.
Yeah.
I want to find out when are tournaments starting.
They have conference tournaments. So I think it's like the end of March is the first week of the tournament because then it turns into April pretty quick, I think we still have a little while. Maybe. Let me see.
Yeah, so the tournament weekend is in 2 weekends. The 16th and 17th.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Try to see what conference tournaments are.
Yeah, that's conference tournaments, yeah.
Oh, so conference tournaments are in a couple weekends.
So the March Madness, I think, starts then on Thursday, March 21st.
Yes.
So anyway, well, until then, we'll continue covering mediocre sports landscape until we get to March Madness. But thank you for listening and get your bets placed. Bye, everybody.